Hey guys, welcome to another episode of 2 Minutes to Review. I'm Matt.
And I'm Zach.
2 minutes or under, that is what we try to keep our reviews to. Longest album review in under 2 minutes wins. This time, you clicked on the picture. If you really weren't in the know, this is kind of a surprise release toward the end of the year. I'm glad that it came out. Well, you know it's Chris Cornell, and you know that it's his new cover album that was posthumously released by his estate, No One Sings Like You Anymore. I'm going to reserve the rest of what I'm going to say for my review, but Zach, a little more background on this. What's going on?
Well, yeah, so it turns out that he recorded a bunch of songs with producer Brendan O'Brien back in 2016.
Famous for Pearl Jam.
Yeah, and he pretty much was Chris Cornell's go-to person for Higher Ground, his last solo album, or his last proper solo album, I should say.
Which sounded amazing, by the way.
Yeah, and I'm going to touch on that in my review too, but it kind of makes sense because if you think about it, he started to drop little inklings that he had a covers album in the vault. He kind of made a viral sensation before he passed away by covering Nothing Compares to You, originally by Prince, made famous by Sinead O'Connor for Sirius XM. And that acoustic version became really popular and it was beautiful. And then a few months ago, out of nowhere, the estate released his cover of Guns N' Roses' Patience. It seemed kind of out of nowhere. So it's shocking, but then all the little breadcrumbs led up to this and goes, this makes more sense. Of course, he recorded this before he passed away. Of course, it wasn't just a few singles here and there. And it includes covers from John Lennon, Light Orchestra, Janis Joplin. So definitely a nice, maybe even bittersweet way to end 2020, if you think about it. But you know what? I'm getting ahead of myself. Matt, would you like to go first or would you like me to?
All right, so you want me to do the deed first this time.
I want you to do the deed first.
All right, so let's do the deed as I get my old school pad out because I actually wrote this.
Are you ready to share your thoughts on Chris Cornell's solo album?
Let's do it.
3, 2, 1, go.
So in an interview with Vicky Cornell, she said that this is a special album because it's a complete work of art that Chris created from start to finish. And it really is a work of art. Now, Chris Cornell, I'll say this, he had an innate ability to cover songs and make them his own through his voice alone, which is why he'll go down as one of the most powerful voices in music history. We all know this about Chris Cornell. But going into this album, whether it was covering like a new school song like Sad, Sad City by Ghostland Observatory, or going old school with classics like Patience or Nothing Compares to You, Chris does what most strive to do when covering songs. It's really to pay homage to the original, but by breathing new life into the song and kind of making it his own, even though he doesn't really stray too far from the path when it comes to his covers. I do kind of wish that on the songs that weren't, the formulas or the hit singles, that he incorporated more of the dynamics that he did into those songs. Like you really feel like with Patience or Nothing Compares to You, that there was this big buildup and that there's this big openness and sound that I kind of wish that he did a little bit more on a song like Sad, Sad City. But overall, the album, from both a production standpoint and from a performance standpoint, it sounds great. And Chris Cornell, I really think that if this was the last thing that we ever heard from him, it's a signature Chris Cornell sound, and it's a great last piece of music to ever hear coming from one of the greats of all time.
All right. So what is your star review of this?
I'm going to go with 4-star.
Wow.
Yeah.
4-star review.
Yeah, Chris, he really did a good job. He really did a good job. You know it's Chris Cornell, and you know his cover style by now from hearing many, many covers that he's done over the years, not just with this particular album, but, one of my favorite covers that he ever did was Billie Jean. And, just listening to what he did there and what he does here, he has a signature sound when it comes to him doing covers. And it really is kind of a blend of all of that together, creating this last, piece that we're getting from Chris.
Fair enough. All right. Well, I guess it's my turn then.
All right. Let me know when you're good to go.
Let's do it.
3, 2, 1, go.
So I'm going to be honest. Let's start off with something that might bug some people on this record. I know a lot of people weren't huge fans of Higher Ground's kind of mix of rootsy sounding instrumentation with modern beats. And if you didn't like Higher Ground, you're not going to like this cover album. I mean, I know this is probably sentimental, but realistically, if this came out before he passed away, you'd probably have the same feelings you did regarding Higher Ground. But if you liked Higher Ground, like I did, and I thought there's some really great musicianship on that record, you're going to enjoy this. And I know that Matt touched upon this a lot. He does really make each song his own. I personally kind of felt that the first two covers, his cover of Janis Joplin's Get It While You Can, as well as Harry Nilsson's Jump Into the Fire, I wish they didn't start with those songs because it seemed a little too modern. But then you get into Sad, Sad City, and of course the song Patience that we already heard gets you kind of back into the groove of things. And I thought Nothing Compares to You was just going to be the same thing that we heard before, just the acoustic version. But they did a really nice job adding some strings to it, making it a little bit more lush and more of like an actual studio effort than just a one-off acoustic recording. But I actually think that, again, great cover of Watching the Wheels. But I actually think the moments that he shines more are on songs like his covers of Caller Hollers, You Don't Know, and Nothing But Love, or even Electric Light Orchestra's Showdown, because it captures how soulful his voice was. That, he could be in a rock band, but really what made his voice so beautiful, unique, and powerful was just how just soulful it was. And it almost made me kind of wish it was more like, I actually almost would have rather he just did like an R&B soul record at certain points, because it did a great job capturing how even years after his prime, in some ways, he was still such a significant voice. With that said, the production was great. And like Matt said, if this really is the last piece of recorded content that we hear from Chris Cornell, which knowing the estate, there's probably some more hiding somewhere, but this is a really good tribute to the talent known as Chris Cornell.
All right, we've got a time. Stars?
I'm going to give it 3.5 because from a performance standpoint, it really was incredible to hear him sound the way he did. But truth be told, I think this album could have done better as just a straightforward acoustic covers album, or maybe even incorporate more of I was taken aback by the strings on Nothing Compares to You. I actually think it would have been beautiful to hear him do this with a string quartet or even with a jazz ensemble. It was great production, but I think it could have done with an actual kind of live feeling in the studio. That's kind of where I was kind of going with the review, that when he did the production work on like you said, Nothing Compares to, I feel like he could have did more with that and explored that a little more on other songs. It stayed in one spot. Yes, it's a high point, but if you've got the ability to do that, why not? It sounded like two friends in the studio going, "Oh, this would be a fun song to cover," when it probably could have been more. But granted, I mean, keep in mind of when he recorded this. If he did record this during 2016, it was probably like, "Oh, we got some extra time in the studio while recording this. Let's just do this real quick." So either way, it's very nice to have it. And you know what? Either way, it doesn't matter, because what really matters is who got the longest review in under 2 minutes. That's what really matters. Nothing compares to that.
I have a feeling that it was me.
Are you sure about that?
What's my time?
Your time was 1 minute and 42 seconds.
Yeah, that's great time.
My time was amazing, I'm sure.
Your time was amazing if this was 3 minutes to review, because your time...
No, it was not 3 minutes.
No, your review was 2 minutes and 26 seconds.
No, it wasn't.
Yes, it was. Yep.
And normally I would defend like my length, but even thinking back, like, I could have cut that short. I could have cut that. Oh, well, that stinks. Well, darn it. I guess whatever.
I win again.
Congratulations. But you know what? Now we want to hear what you think. Did you enjoy hearing Chris Cornell's voice one more time? Did you enjoy the way that he interpreted these songs? Let us know on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. at Epic Footnote, and please tune in for some more episodes. I guess unless there's another surprise album that comes out, who knows? This was probably the last 2 Minutes to Review episode of 2020. So, Happy New Year. Thanks for listening.
And hopefully 2021's better.
Fingers crossed. Thanks, everyone.
See ya.